And you are live. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the March 5th, 2025 Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee. I'd like to introduce City Attorney Jennifer Vega. Ms. Vega, please explain the role of public comment.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the subcommittee for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The Arizona Open Meetings Law permits the subcommittee members to listen to the comments, but prohibits members from discussing or acting on the matters presented. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items to be discussed. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the subcommittee. The City Council and staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to pending investigations, claims, or litigation. Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you very much. I would also like to introduce our interpreter, Elsie Duarte. Elsie, would you please provide a brief announcement?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, my name is Elsie Duarte, and together with my colleague Mario Barajas, we will be providing interpretation today. I would like to take a moment to introduce ourselves to our Spanish-speaking audience and explain the new interpretation format. Buenos días, mi nombre es Elsie Duarte y junto con mi colega Mario Barajas estaremos sirviéndoles con interpretación durante la reunión. Como parte de un nuevo formato de interpretación, usted podrá hablar libremente durante el tiempo disponible sin interrupciones. Después de sus comentarios completos, le interpretaremos al inglés lo que usted dijo para los miembros del Consejo y del público. Gracias. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Elsie, thank you. Okay, we'll start this subcommittee meeting with a call to the public. And I know we have at least 3 registered speakers. We'll start with Christina Tyler.
Hello, my name is Christina Tyler, and I came here to focus today's speech on one subject. One of my friends, named Israel DeVoe, was on call in an Allied Universal vehicle as a security guard. And this happened in August of last year, where he was an account manager, and 3 of your police officers decided to arrest and detain him, accusing of speeding. And we have been getting declined to be able to receive the video footage to be able to be presented in court. And the other thing that's very interesting that's happening with your police staff is that they're not following House Bill 2431. This gentleman was not given his right in the state of Arizona to be able to accept or decline emergency medical transportation from EMS. Instead, your police officers decided to laugh and ridicule him as they took him to the police station, and that one female police officer who worked the front desk did the right thing and said, this man needs to seek emergency help. When you guys decided to beat the crap out of him when he was not armed, and because he was asking questions of why you guys were choosing to have him step out of a vehicle accusing of speeding, which again, that's all, different people are gonna have different points of view. But again, 3 police officers decided to beat him up as a black man. And the thing is you guys did not give him his right to accept or decline emergency medical transport after you guys pounded his head with photo footage of that man facing injuries to his head. We have the right, and I want to make this clear, to accept or decline emergency medical transportation. Thanks to Dr. Amish Shah since 2022. It is a right in this state. And you guys are refusing people, even when you guys are causing the injury. Give them their rights to accept or decline emergency medical transportation, not by you, and for EMS to be able to go there. And even they are not supposed to counsel, and they have to sign off and have their rights. Quit making it to where you put other people's injuries in your own hands and determining what is an emergency or not. I, as a first aid CPR AED instructor for the American Red Cross, even knows that that is supposed to be treated as emergency. And now I'm done speaking.
Thank you. Orla Bobo?
Good morning. A Phoenix man died after another delayed response time from the Phoenix Fire Department. This is because our firefighters don't have the resources they need to do their job and due to years of underfunding by the city. Archie Wiggins died 3 weeks ago in a house fire in District 6. Nearby fire trucks were on other emergency calls, so fire trucks from further away had to respond. Mr. Wiggins was found unconscious just 15 feet from his door and died as a result of his injuries. I've been screaming from the rooftops for 2 years trying to get the attention of city leadership. Phoenix Fire has been operating in crisis mode for close to 10 years because they don't have the money to keep up with the city's growth. People are dying or having worse outcomes because of long response times. It also endangers the lives of firefighters, not to mention they are overworked and dying at younger ages. The fire department has lost 3 firefighters alone in just the past 6 months due to cancer and various illness. I personally met with city leadership to discuss the fire crisis and what can be done about it. I've been in email communications for 2 years showing them alarming response times from my public records requests. I've shown them fire department team meeting videos from years ago of firefighters talking about how dire the situation is, saying that people and firefighters will die, and firefighters talking about hauling around dead bodies because they don't have enough resources. I also informed them of a woman who died in District 2 after a delayed response time last February. All city leaders would tell me is that they don't have the money to solve the problem. The city didn't care about response times until they saw an opportunity to take advantage of the city's budget shortfall and asked for a proposed sales tax under the guise of funding firefighters. The city claims they lost funding because of a recent rental tax cut that went into effect this past January. However, the fire department has been underfunded for close to 15 years and in crisis for 10. The city says that the proposed tax is to solve the fire response crisis. The proposed tax increase is slated to go into the general fund and not directly to the fire department. Once again, the city is using our firefighters to get money, and we have no way of knowing exactly how much they are being given or will they actually receive it. And what is being proposed will not solve the crisis. The city takes money on the backs of firefighters and clearly doesn't give them all the money they need. We've seen this multiple times with GO bonds and food taxes. The city is using the fire department. Not to mention that the firefighters, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Matt Evans?
Good morning, council members. And I just want to say impromptu thank you for your service to all the police officers and first responders in this room. We have your back and we support you. Thank you very much. My name is Matt Evans, and I'm here today as a concerned citizen and member of Take Back Phoenix. Public safety isn't a luxury. It's the most fundamental responsibility of local government. Right now, in the city of Phoenix, emergency response times are unacceptable. Whether it's fire, police, or medical emergencies, delays are costing lives. We've heard the excuses, staffing shortages, budget misfalls, but what we haven't heard is real leadership and accountability. If the city of Phoenix can spend millions of dollars on shade programs and splash pads, then how come you can't prioritize the funding for fire stations, medical equipment, and the personnel needed to keep us safe. For years, residents have demanded better response times, but the city ignored them. Now, all of a sudden, it's a priority, right when you want to raise taxes. Where was the urgency before? This isn't about protecting residents, it's about protecting the city's budget. If public safety truly mattered, you wouldn't wait until you needed money to make it a priority. Now we're being told that a sales tax increase is the only solution. Let me be clear. Raising taxes should be the last resort, not the first. Phoenix residents are already struggling with inflation and the cost of high living. Before demanding more, where's the accountability on how the current budget is being spent? $24 million in budget cuts, yet those details won't be revealed until the day you vote. Councilman Waring has acknowledged that the sales tax increase was supposed to replace lost revenues, but those revenues were never funding fire stations and personnel in the first place. The city also blames the end of the rental tax and Arizona's flat income tax. But let's be honest, those cuts were intended to give relief to hardworking Arizonans. Now the city of Phoenix is taking that money back. The state gave us relief, and now the city is taking it away to cover their financial mismanagement. That's not fairness, it's government greed. Phoenix doesn't have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem. And before you ask residents for another dime, show us exactly how that money is being spent. Prioritize public safety, cut the waste, and stop making the people of Phoenix pay for the city's failures. The people of this city deserve better. We deserve a government.
Okay,
we deserve
thank
a
you very
government
much.
that protects
Thank you very
its
much.
citizens.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have one more speaker, but that's for item number 2, so we'll wait for that. So, okay, first item is the approval of the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee meeting minutes from February 5th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, pass unanimously. Thank you for that. Our first presentation today is item number 2. We'll welcome to the table, I believe, Assistant Chief Dennis Orender, Assistant Chief Derek Elmore, Assistant Chief Nick DePonzio, Commander Dave Cedar, and Assistant Chief Justin Alexander. Okay, they're going to provide a presentation on the city's protest planning and the policy updates. So, all right, Chief Orender, I believe it's all yours.
Good morning, Chair Robinson and members of the subcommittee, and thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the police department's protest planning and response. With me today is Executive Assistant Chief Derek Elmore, Assistant Chief Nick DePonzio, Commander Dave Cedar, and Assistant Chief Justin Alexander from the fire department. As we all know, the police department is statutorily responsible for maintaining public peace, preventing crime, and protecting the rights of individuals and their property. As part of this duty, the police department provides trained personnel for various situations, including managing crowds during peaceful public events such as parades, festivals, marches, and First Amendment assemblies. The police department also has a responsibility to respect and protect the free speech and expression of all community members during these events, even during those times when community members may be critical of law enforcement. While respecting and protecting an individual's free speech and expression during an event, we must also balance these events to ensure that we maintain public safety. This is accomplished through a multi-tiered approach that we will discuss in more detail in just a few moments. But before we get into that, I wanted to provide the subcommittee with an update on our First Amendment facilitation and management policy, which is Operations Order 1.10. This is a public-facing policy that is set to go live next month In developing this policy, the department looked at national best practices and incorporated several recommended remedial measures from the Department of Justice report. We also solicited feedback from community members and received over 60 public comments. We value the public's input, and after perusing all those comments, several recommendations were incorporated into the policy. This input has ensured a comprehensive policy surrounding First Amendment protected activity, while at the same time outlining the department's responsibilities during both planned and unplanned events. The First Amendment facilitation management policy will also provide the public with information on how to obtain any necessary permits through the various city departments such as streets, fire, parks, zoning, and the water department. The policy is set to go live in April of 2025. And at this time, I will turn it over to Executive Assistant Chief Derek Elmore to discuss our training and response to planned and unplanned events, as well as specifics regarding our public safety response team.
Thank you, Chairman Robinson and subcommittee members, for the opportunity to talk about our public safety response team. As a whole, we have 61 full-time members assigned to our downtown operations unit who are the core of that response team. We also have 530 collateral duty members who are assigned to the various precincts, including net teams, CAOs, and gangs. We think that the number that we have right now is adequate to handle the First Amendment protests and civil disturbances that we have seen. As I pass the mic down to Commander Cedar and Assistant Chief DePonzio, they will talk about our training, our tools, and our responses as general, and then also our recent responses in light of the protests that we've had this year.
Good morning, Chairman Robinson and members of the subcommittee. During 2024, we revamped our training for the Public Safety Response Team Downtown Operations Unit. What that looks like today is our primary full-time members receive 24 hours of mobile field force training from FEMA. Then they come back and they go through 10 hours of the Phoenix Mobile Field Force training. Annually, we have a 4-hour recertification that all members, both full-time and part-time, are required to complete every year. In addition to that, our downtown operations unit members go through 20 hours of Grenadier School and the FEMA 40-hour extrication school. Some of this training provides knowledge of special equipment, the mobile field force use of force, arrest procedures, vehicle rescues, and legal considerations. Our primary tools that we use, there's 3 primary tools. The first one is verbal communication, and that's just working with the demonstrators and talking to them in person. We also can give commands by amplified devices or loudspeakers. If it escalates, we can use distraction devices, which are used to create a loud noise. This creates separation between individuals who may be committing crimes from those who are peacefully protesting, and creates an opportunity for us to act to end those criminal acts. As a last resort, we can use less lethal munitions, which are used for area denial, dispersal, and direct impact. I'd like to note that anytime we do use less lethal munitions during any demonstration, we survey the community members in the area, the individuals that may have been used against, police and fire, to see if there's any medical attention which is necessary. Our partners with Phoenix Fire, anytime we deploy, are staged nearby and ready to provide that medical aid. I will now pass it over to Assistant Chief Alexander.
Chair Robinson, members of the subcommittee, I appreciate the opportunity to describe the Phoenix Fire Department's Chair Robinson, members of the subcommittee, I appreciate the opportunity to share the Phoenix Fire Department's partnership with the Phoenix Police Department during these demonstrations. For over 2 decades, the Phoenix Police and Fire Departments have worked collaboratively to manage public safety surrounding planned and unplanned events, including demonstrations. This partnership is maintained through joint management of and participation in the Phoenix Homeland Defense Bureau and the City of Phoenix All Hazard Incident Management Team. During mass demonstrations, police and fire use a unified command model found within the framework of the National Incident Management System to jointly prepare for, monitor, and respond to these complex events. The cornerstone of this unified command are communication and coordination. Interoperability of communication, or the ability of different agencies to communicate in real time, is achieved through peer-to-peer radio communication in the field with police and fire command officers co-located in the Tactical Operations Center, or the TOC. This co-location offers the second layer of interoperability by allowing constant direct communication between departments. Coordination occurs through intelligence-led planning efforts that produce shared operations, logistics, and communication plans. During the demonstrations themselves, the fire department dedicates threat liaison officers and medical response personnel to address on-site response needs. These resources are kept outside identified security zones, as noted on the slide, set by our PD partners. Dedicated tactical radio operators assist in placing virtual boundaries, known as geofences, into our computer-aided dispatch system to ensure any calls for service within or around the demonstration area are addressed with the proper coordination and communication from the TOC. Any medical or other calls for service within the perimeter require police and fire joint response. Any medical patients are removed from the area for evaluation and treatment whenever possible. Additionally, the TOC coordination between police and fire provides dispatch awareness for alternative routing of on-duty resources sent near or around demonstration perimeters. This ensures that fire units responding to incidents near these areas get to their scenes as fast as possible. The police and fire partnership that exists during all planned and unplanned events is critical to ensure the communication and coordination necessary for the safety and security of our residents and our public safety members. Thank you.
The Phoenix Police Department responds to two primary types of events. We categorize them as planned events and unplanned events. Planned events are where we have 24 to 48 hours of advance notice. Our community response squad, which is a squad of individuals that when they respond out to these events and they work with the event organizers, they're wearing business attire, and they work closely with them to help them plan their event, find out information, reference how large their event is going to be, how many participants, if they're going to march, those types of things. Our community response squad then works with the Homeland Defense Bureau and the Downtown Operations Unit to determine what this event is going to look like and what our response will be as a department. For unplanned events, these are the ones where we have no advance notice. We can find out an hour before, 12 hours before, but we don't have the time to have a separate intelligence gathering and planning. So they happen simultaneously. This is important to note because that forces us to make our decisions as both of those are occurring, and our response decisions have limited time and information available to us to make those decisions. We have three different types of responses available to us. Our Tier 1 response is the community response. The CRS squad, Community Response Squad, responds, and they work with the event organizers. I'll start over. For our Tier 1 response, our Community Response Squad will respond and work with the event organizers, and they will make a notification to the Homeland Defense Bureau and the Downtown Operations Unit. At that point, the Downtown Operations Unit and the Homeland Defense Bureau are monitoring and receiving updates from our Community Response Squad. A Tier 2 response brings into the mix uniformed officers in the form of patrol officers who are in uniform or motorcycle officers who are in uniform, and they primarily support them in the way of traffic control. And during Tier 2 events, the Public Safety Response Team may or may not be on standby. For a Tier 3 response, our Public Safety Response Team will stage nearby and be ready to deploy if needed. And then our Homeland Defense Bureau, in conjunction with our partners with Phoenix Fire, will initiate a Tactical Operations Center. With that, I will pass it over to Assistant Chief DePonzio.
Chairperson Robinson, members of the subcommittee, good morning. when PD and Fire have to initiate the Tactical Operations Center, it's a joint venture between PD and Fire to ensure seamless intelligence and communication sharing during large-scale incidents to improve performance and ensure the safety of community members. As you can see, when the Public Safety Response Team and the TOC are implemented, it requires approximately 286 officers and supervisors to staff each event. In 2024, the team oversaw a total of 313 events. These include 218 demonstrations, 55 labor actions, and 40 election-related events. Of the 313 events, only 10 were deemed Tier 3 events requiring a PSRT deployment. During these events, there were 28 coordinated arrests. A coordinated arrest is a pre-planned event where protest organizers inform law enforcement that members of their group plan to commit a criminal act and desire to be arrested for this action. Most recently, from January 30th to February 8th, 2025, the city saw a series of demonstrations. There were 19 demonstrations, 7 of which led to a public safety response team deployment. There were 7 shows of force, 1 gas deployment, 0 uses of force, and only 1 arrest. A show of force, this includes officer providing verbal commands to leave an area, an intersection, or along with the use of pepper ball for area denial. This first event we're going to show you, this is an unplanned Tier 2 event from Tier 2 March from February 3rd. This was an unplanned event where the organizers refused to communicate with officers. There was no identified route for the march, and the officers had to spontaneously respond to wherever this protest took us. There were officers assigned to the community response squad that were marching with this group, and while traffic was impacted, you will see that we were just merely there providing traffic control to ensure these people had the opportunity to express themselves. This next event was a Tier 3 event at 43rd Avenue and McDowell. The public safety response team was on scene during this event and preparing to deploy when protesters took to the street and overran a delivery truck. During this incident, you will see a mortar-style firework thrown into the crowd, which detonates. There were multiple public safety risks related to unsafe driving while protesters were also in the intersection. Despite this level of activity, the public safety response team was able to disperse this crowd solely using pepper ball. We also utilized our street racing task force to deal with the unsafe driving by members of our community. The third video, is also from the area of 43rd Avenue McDowell and took place on January 31st. This was a repeated response from the crowd when officers moved into a position to disperse the crowd. The crowd quickly surrounds the officer, and you will hear a thud towards the end of this video where the officer is struck in the helmet with a flagpole. This event ended in our sole arrest during these protests.
Peaceful. Use your head.
With that, we're prepared to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much. I have a few questions, but I'll check with my colleagues first. Vice Mayor, do you have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you all for your presentation this morning. You talked about in 2024 there being 313 events. Do we have an idea of approximately how many people attend those events? I promise not. Is there an estimate? Or do we track that?
Chairman Robinson, members of the subcommittee, Councilwoman O'Brien, we could probably get an estimate for you, but I don't have that number with me today.
Okay. I want to commend you that, I would imagine the fact that there were just 28 coordinated arrests, that there were far more than 28 people at those 313 events. So I am very pleased to see the level of professionalism from our police department in these protests. What I want to know is it legal to protest in the streets of Phoenix and block traffic?
Chair Robinson, Vice Mayor O'Brien. No, it is not legal. That would require them to obtain a permit and to request street closures. However, we take in the totality of the circumstances and weigh that against their First Amendment rights. And if the only law that they are breaking is in being in the roadway, and oftentimes it's due to the size of the crowd, we will make the decision to go ahead and elevate it to a tier 2 and to bring in patrol officers in uniform to assist with the traffic control. And we classify those as just a regular civil disturbance.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I appreciate the information today, and like I said, I'm very pleased to see the professionalism with which we're handling these types of protests in our city.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilwoman Guardado, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Chairman. I guess my first question, and I'm not sure, maybe this is more for Lori. Lori, how did we come up with the name Homeland Defense Bureau?
If I could, Councilwoman Guardado, that was a name that the Phoenix Police Department has had for, I want to say, at least 20 years. It was right after 9/11. I was a part of that. I was an executive within the Phoenix Police Department. We morphed from an organized crime bureau and a division, and at the time, Homeland Defense was the most important thing in law enforcement at the time, and that's where the name comes from. I don't think it has anyone at the table now was in a decision-making position when that occurred.
Well, thank you so much. No, I definitely appreciate that. But I guess my question more is because I see here, with the planned events and the unplanned events that we have here, obviously I want to see more planned events, where people are exercising their First Amendment rights. And definitely as a union organizer, I remember working with the police and making those events happen. So I think we want to encourage people to do that more and more so that we are able to have the right amount of resources out there that are needed as people are practicing their First Amendment rights. But I guess my question to you then is, Lori, given the climate, that we are living under and all of the challenges and everything that's happening in our country right now, I don't have an issue with the name, but I know that when I first saw it, I was like, okay, is this HSI? Like, I had to go do some research to figure out who is it that we were coordinating with. And I could see some of the groups looking at the name and just really coordinating it and saying that we're working with HSI, which then I think would make people not want to coordinate and call and make more planned events than not. So could we add something to this, Lori, that just says City of Phoenix Homeland Defense Bureau?
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, Councilwoman Guardado, we can certainly discuss the name of the Bureau and how to communicate the purpose of the Bureau to the community. I completely agree with you that we would love to have every single event be a planned event. It is always to the city's benefit as well as the community's benefit to plan together. So absolutely, we can do that, and we can discuss how to make sure to communicate purpose of the Bureau to the community in a better way, whether that's through a name change or through other mechanisms.
That would be great. Thanks for that, Lori. And then I guess I just have another question because I think that I want to figure out how do we do, like be able to tell the difference, between people that are out there protesting, practicing their First Amendment rights. But then I was looking at the videos, the drag racing that was happening and people doing donuts in the middle of the road. How are we handling those folks, or what are we doing with those people?
Chairperson Robinson, members of the subcommittee, Councilwoman Guardado. We have our street racing task force that is housed out of the Maryvale Estrella Mountain Precinct, and that is the resources that we were using to address that. This is the team that we've had in existence for a couple of years now, that they are the resident experts on how to deal with this type of activity. And between their enforcement efforts and technology, we were able to conduct enforcement activities away from the protesters when these cars drove away, and we had some very good results with that.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that because I just don't consider them as part of the protest. A lot of times there are children out there. There, people like you said, like that decide to take the streets, and I just want to make sure that we don't have any incidents. And I would hope, that we continue to do enforcement with these people because for me, I don't consider them as part of these protests. I don't like it when people take advantage of people exercising their First Amendment rights and then for people to come on and do that. So the more enforcement that we can do around that, that would be great. And again, just want to thank you all for all of your hard work. I know this is not easy, especially with the unplanned events and not understanding how many people will be out there. I just think it's important, that we continue to do this. And one last question on that: Are we ticketing them, folks? Are we trying to enforce as much as we can on this, on the drag racing?
Chairperson Robinson, members of the subcommittee, Councilwoman Guardado. Yes, depending on the activity that is observed by the officers, we do have the ability to issue citations, seize vehicles, and make arrests when appropriate.
Great. And I would say that as people are calling and organizing these events, and even, I don't know, Lori, how do we put this out there? But we should be very clear that it's one thing for folks to be practicing First Amendment rights, and then it's another thing for people to break the law doing these type of things, and for people to know that they will be cited, that there will be consequences, because I just think that this makes it very unsafe for people that are out there protesting.
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, Councilwoman Guardado, we have in the past done some public education campaigns around those very issues, and so we can work on an updated social media campaign and some other materials that can help educate the community on those topics.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much. Again, thanks to everyone there. Thank you for all of your hard work. And I know that all that you guys are out there doing is not easy. So I appreciate everything that we have in place to be able to work with people as they practice their First Amendment rights. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. At this point, before I ask my questions or make any comments, we have two citizens who'd like to speak, so we'll go to that. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing the last name incorrectly, but Anika, and I know I said it wrong, and I apologize. If you wouldn't mind, if you want to come to the podium. For the record, give us your name, please.
It's Nike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please begin.
Nike?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, may I speak now? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this morning. Ma'ams and sirs, we have a concern. We have a business in town which is for people with developmental disabilities. It's called a DTA program. That's a place where people who were born with defects and they still need a place to help them to become independent citizens, to be able to help themselves. And in that program, we discovered that we were just next door to a bus stop. And at that bus stop, there's heavy activities for homeless people. So when we started the business, we were finding difficulty.
I'm sorry, ma'am. You're listed to speak on this particular issue that we've been talking about for protests and planning with the police and fire department.
No.
So if there's another one, why don't I do
Mine
that?
is not for protest.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind, why don't we wait till after the
Yes.
other presentations? Because
That's
yours
okay.
is more of a call to the public, and I'll call
Thank
you
you.
back at that time.
All right, thank you.
All right. And I believe the next question, your next speaker was the same thing? Okay, thank you. Why don't we just wait for that? Thank you. Let me make a couple of comments, or actually I have a couple of questions. And I don't know if Chief Orender or who wants to answer this, or Chief Elmore rather. When you go to the second or the third slide, it was the third slide, Public Safety Response Team, the PSRT, or maybe Dave, you'll be the one to answer it. But we have 530 collateral duty members that are assigned to the precincts. Can you give us a little bit more information what you mean by collateral duty? I understand it, but I want to make sure our audience understands it. And if somebody can speak to the amount of training and how often they are trained or retrained or recertified.
Chairman Robinson, members of the subcommittee. Yes, sir. So the collateral duties for those officers are, their full-time jobs are either neighborhood response teams, our CAOs, our community action officers, and then also gang squads as well have duties that they normally provide. Their collateral duties would be a part of this public safety response team. They receive the same training, the hours that we talk about on slide and on slide 4, where they have the 24-hour of the mobile field force plus the 10 hours of the downtown and then the 4 hours of the recert. They receive that annually. So that is the amount of training and stuff that they go through. The collateral duties means that they have other responsibilities normally, but when we have these planned events or sometimes unplanned events, we call them into action and they're able to help us and assist. That way we have people spread out throughout the valley and not concentrated in one place.
Okay, and I think I was looking for a little bit more clarification. You may have answered it, but we have down on slide 4, FEMA 24-hour mobile field force course. To me, it sounds like it's a one-time thing. You're saying that's something that everyone is given. We put all of the PSRT folks through it yearly, and I guess Commander Cedar, you'll probably be the one to answer that.
Chairman Robinson and members of the board, members of the subcommittee. Yeah, so what we have is we have the FEMA 24-hour course, and what that looks like is right now we're trying to ramp up and have every single member go to that initial training prior to them going to our initial training. As it stands right now, all members who are full-time with the Downtown Operations Unit, their first introduction to the mobile field force is that FEMA 24-hour course. They take that and they get certified. Once they come back from that, we put them through Phoenix's 10-hour course. And we are in the process currently of putting that out citywide to our collateral duty members as well. With 530 members, though, that is going to take time. But moving forward, all new mobile field force within the city of Phoenix will have the training listed here before they are deployable.
Okay, thank you. You know, for me, it's about train some more after that, then train some more, because clearly in a time of stress, you're going to revert back to the way you were trained.
Yes, sir.
So obviously and clearly my emphasis is to put our folks through as much training as we possibly can, which takes me to the recertification for the Grenadier and the extraction school. Is that a yearly school that the Grenadiers go through? And obviously these are the folks who are delivering gas or other projectiles. Are they going through that yearly? Is there a recertification?
That school is, both of those schools listed are annual. And then we have quarterly trainings that they go through. And then we have an annual recertification for each one that they attend, both for the grenadiers and the extrication training.
All right, thank you. And the reason I asked that question, I think it's pretty clear to you folks that we as a council, we are always faced with the after action after these incidents. And a question always raises itself as to whether or not the people were properly certified and those types of things. So I think it's important that clearly the training is taking place, that we make sure that is well known. Next thing I have, actually, it just goes to the planned and unplanned events. Councilwoman Guardado had mentioned it is great when we're notified of planned events, but not all of them, unfortunately, are that way. And I know we're making every effort to ensure that any event that's going to occur, that we're interacting with those folks. But when it comes to the unplanned events, let's say something that happens tonight at 11:45, 50, 60, 70, 90 people at a location, and it starts to spiral out of control there. Give me an idea of what kind of response can we expect and who is in charge? It's tonight at 11:45. Who's in charge?
Chairman Robinson and members of the subcommittee. So we have contingency plans for that, and that's built into our training. A lot of our collateral duty officers are actual patrol officers. So over the last 2 years, I've been working on getting more individuals within the city of Phoenix, the mobile field force certifications, so that each precinct can be self-sufficient during incidents like what you're speaking about. Our downtown operations unit is not available and here 24/7, so we have to have the capability to respond to these at a moment's notice. So with that, within each precinct, they're required to have a minimum of 40 collateral duty mobile field force officers. That in conjunction with their resource teams would be that first approach, that first response on something that was spontaneous in the middle of the night like that. For that, the resource lieutenant and that precinct commander, they would have ownership and command over that incident. And then if it was too much for them to handle, whether it's the violence, the number of individuals, at that point, the downtown operations unit would be notified and we would respond from home and we would take over that incident from them. So they're just the stopgap for us to respond and to take over that incident if needed.
And thank you for that. And I appreciate it. I know sometimes you got to work with what you have. The point I'm making more than anything else, and it's for the executive team, because you guys are sitting here in front of us, I think it's critical that whoever the lieutenants are that are out there, whoever is in charge, that they are getting the exact same training everybody else is getting, because we're now expecting them to react and perform in a manner in which other folks have been trained. And the question I would have all of our shift lieutenants been trained? Are they properly prepared? I mean, this is, and it's not a question for anyone to answer. It was a point that I wanted to make as I went through the presentation. I want us to be as prepared as we possibly can be for any incident. And what that's going to require is the people who are out on the street, the people who are in charge, the people who are going to be making those decisions have that requisite training to make those decisions. I know they're more than capable, but are they getting the training? So as you guys move forward with the whole thing, I certainly hope we take that into account, because like Vice Mayor pointed out, of the 313 events last year, only 10 of them were Tier 3, and we only had about 28 coordinated arrests. But we know, the way things are going these days, more is most likely going to happen. And I just want to make sure the department is thinking far enough ahead, because we will be asked as a council, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of Phoenix. We'll be responsible for making decisions after the fact. So it's best for us to help us make those decisions when all that has taken place, all the training has taken place in advance. So I will get off my soap opera with one more question, my soapbox rather. Gas deployment. Who makes that decision? When we're deploying gas or any other projectiles, who's making that decision?
Chairman Robinson, members of the subcommittees, that decision, if it's a planned event and it escalates in a manner that we can control is made by the chief of police. So it goes up through the assistant chief, through me, and to the chief to make that final decision. If it is something that is needed to for life-saving or saving either other people's or the protect the officers, that decision is made at the field level and is deployed and then communicated up through the chain after the fact.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to. Those unplanned events. So in an unplanned event, something again at 11:45 tonight, when not everybody is available. So it's going to be that lieutenant making that decision, most likely?
Chairman Robinson, members of the subcommittee, if it would be the commander or the duty commander, which would be the lieutenant at the time, and or his commander in conjunction with his commander, yes.
Yeah, but they may not be at the scene. You know, that's the point I'm making.
Yeah, so to get back to that, I forgot about those units that are auxiliary aren't grenadiers and they don't have gas, so they would not be able to deploy gas at that moment anyway.
Okay, so it's only going to be in the planned events where you have Commander Cedars folks out there and stuff like that, where you'll have an opportunity to deploy gas and such.
Correct.
Okay. Again, I just think that's important for us to understand and for as we move forward. It's just, I think it's critical that we understand the totality of everything. And with that, you guys did an exceptional job with the presentation. My questions are more about making sure that you are giving consideration to the things that we as policymakers for the city give consideration to or sometimes are in a position to make decisions about. So exceptional job. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the coordination between the fire department and the police department. Clearly, we can't move forward without that partnership. Truly appreciate all the ancillary details outside of yours, Commander, where everyone comes together and the training is taking place and we are properly prepared for unplanned events. So really appreciate everything you guys have done. So thank you very much. Okay, next we'll welcome Commander Sarah Garza to the table to provide an update on the training implementation for the TASER 10.
Chairman Robinson, members of the subcommittee, good morning. I'm happy to be here to speak on the TASER 10 training update. I am Commander Sarah Garza, as you said, and I would just like to give a big thank you to Lieutenant James Ward and his advanced training detail for all the work they did to both acquire the TASER 10 and put together this training for our department. I spoke at Formal again about a lot of the features of the TASER 10, so just today I'd like to highlight two of the major ones. One is that extended range, which is almost double what the TASER 7 provided. This gives us more ability to communicate with the subject and hopefully not have to have deployments of anything, and we can use our de-escalation tools. It also has an audible deterrent, which is a audible warning along with flashing lights that were very effective in our pilot program that we did. I don't have the fancy drone footage like the presentation prior to me, but I do have the audible deterrent for you all to hear today. Are we ready?
It's louder than that normally. I mean,
It is louder, just a little bit louder than that. Yeah, it's not super loud or it's gonna bring people in from other rooms or anything like that, but it is, it's effective. Yes. So I'm here today to talk about the training program. This photo was taken in an instructor development course that I attended recently. In this, you'll see precinct lieutenants and supervisors so that they learn to be instructors, so that when the VR system that I'm about to talk about in a few more slides, they can have continuous training. As you said, training is a huge component to public safety. They can train on the VR. So it's a train the trainer that we put on to allow us to hold more classes and then have that continuous training piece with the TASER 10 because there are different aspects to it than the TASER 7. The classroom training, it's a 10-hour day when officers come down to learn about the TASER 10. In the classroom, they learn about the new department policy, de-escalation tactics, decision-making models, and the nomenclature of the tool. TASER 10 brings a virtual reality training option to it. They have a partner that can watch on this tablet, as you can see in the photo, what they're seeing in their VR headsets. And it tests proficiency in performance under stress. Mind you, it's minimal. They're sitting at a table, but it does bring a little bit of an element of that at the beginning, just after the classroom setting. Here, they're to utilize their decision-making models, as well as communication and de-escalation tactics. After they do their scenarios on the VR headset, there are points of emphasis of decision-making and communication de-escalation in those debriefs with their partner that just watched them go through that scenario. The students then move on to the practical exercise portion, where the device is used at different distances. They also have hands-on application in the drills. They're very short little drills with scenarios, and they're expected to use the TASER 10 on these suits that you can see. They then move into the scenario-based training. This is where the students develop a more comprehensive understanding of where and when to use the TASER 10. They do close quarters. There's a section on close quarters, and they work in groups for small team tactics. Here, they are able to make plans together and work as a team, which is something that we're hoping they use more in the field. We're really trying to emphasize making plans as a team when they deploy with the TASER 10. And they're assessed at the end of these scenario-based trainings to ensure proficiency on the device. We're happy to report that we are 2 months into the training. We've trained over 250, actually, folks in the TASER 10. We're training our recruit classes before they graduate. We had our pilot program folks, these new instructors, and it's received very well with those who have taken it so far. The signups are full. There's waiting lists for the classes. We do offer multiple classes each week throughout the year and at different times to accommodate different shifts. We're hoping that we'll have patrol done by the end of August, by the end of summer, and the whole department by the end of summer of 2026. And I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. I'll turn to Vice Mayor. Do you have any questions?
I do, just about is there additional training after they have the 10 hours? Is there an annual training to ensure that they are still using it properly or to brush up on their skills?
Chairman Robinson, members of the subcommittee, Vice Mayor O'Brien, they do. So thankfully with this one, it comes with that VR component. There's not a requirement to come back every year and recertify on this tool, but now we can send those virtual reality headsets to the precincts, which is something that we didn't have available with the TASER 7, so that they can do precinct-based or bureau-based training with those instructors that we brought in to learn the tool and how to instruct on it, so they can do it more often.
And can you remind us how long it will take to roll out TASER 10s to all of our officers?
All of the patrol officers I'm hoping to have done by the end of this summer, and the entire department by the end of next summer. Okay, 2026.
Wonderful, thank you.
Councilwoman Guardado, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, thank you. But thank you guys for the presentation.
All right. The only thing I will add, more of a comment than anything else, excellent presentation, really appreciate it. I had the opportunity to play with, for lack of a better word, that's my term, but the folks at Axon Taser were kind enough to invite me to their shoot house the last time I was in Washington, D.C., and put me through, I mean, all the scenarios with the virtual reality. And I will tell you, it is lifelike. So every opportunity we get to use it, we need to. It adds a component of stress. There's a lot of things there. The individual moves on you, does all kinds of stuff. And I say this, so I think the police department's aware of it, but I think it's important for everyone else to understand that the training is as close to real life that you can possibly get. And one of the major things with the TASER 10 is that an officer, when a subject might be moving or anything along those lines, it's not like the old taser where you have an opportunity to shoot at them, and if it doesn't hit, or if one probe does and one doesn't, it's a whole new story. Taser 10 gives you multiple opportunities for that to happen. Its accuracy, its distance, there's a lot of things which clearly it is marketed as a lifesaver, and I think it's going to be just that. So, Commander Garza, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I'm not going to say bear down, but
You should.
thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Item 4 is the quarterly update on the fire department's hiring and response times, and we'll welcome to the table Executive Assistant Chief Tim Kreis and Deputy Chief Rita Riddle Bigler to the table. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Robinson and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for your time and opportunity to present updates on our staffing and recruitment in fire. The fire department administers hiring by forecasting attrition rates and managing recruitment, hiring, and training cycles to minimize vacancies. Here is a current snapshot of our hiring numbers as of January 2025. Our authorized sworn position count is currently at 1870. Today, we have 1809 total filled sworn positions. When we add the 45 recruits currently in the academy, this gives us a grand total of 1,854 sworn firefighters. This slide is a 6-month snapshot of those members who have separated from the Phoenix Fire Department as a retirement and a non-retirement. The non-retirement category accounts for numerous reasons for separation. While retention has never been an issue in our organization, we are watching for trends for early departures, and while this is not occurring at an alarming rate as depicted on the slide, we view any early departure as something worth looking into. Firefighter recruit testing. This is the first step to becoming a firefighter. This slide shows you the data for our last 8 testing processes for firefighter recruit as requested. The red columns represent the number of applicants for the firefighter written exam, which is currently still in person but will soon be switching to online. The yellow columns represent the number of applicants that have shown up to actually take the exam in person. And the white columns represent the number of people that passed the written test. This number is up 21% from last year and our highest since 2022. Last year, we trained 154 recruits, and for 2025, we are projected to train 110. This number could increase based on several factors. This is a positive trend in totality that we haven't seen in a couple years, and the credit for this goes to our small but mighty recruitment team and all of our firefighters out there doing the mentorship. Our candidate pool. So through our recruiting and our testing processes, we've started to collect data, who's actually coming through the door. This data allows us to better understand our candidate pool and direct our recruiting efforts and also streamline our hiring process accordingly. We conducted a survey after our written exam this past January to find out about our candidate pool, and what we discovered is depicted here on this slide. This data helps us confirm that our recruiting projects are indeed in line with what this data is telling us. We can also confirm that today's firefighter does indeed get their information and news from social media and their phone. Listed on the screen are the top 3 avenues for communication. And even though 84% of our candidates are in-state, moving to online testing will accommodate more interested candidates that may not live in the area and will reduce the burden of traveling too many times during the hiring process. The EMT certification is required to be hired as a Phoenix firefighter, and our data tells us that 50% of our candidates have this, while the other half are working towards this certification. We are looking at different options for this required EMT certification, and one option would be to not require this and instead include the curriculum in our training academy. We also learned that 55% haven't been exposed to our fire station life, and 62% of those surveyed said this is actually their first testing process. So this information continues to tell us that we have new people chasing this career, and we need to continue to provide more opportunities to learn about our profession and understand what the City of Phoenix has to offer and what it actually takes to do this job. As I previously mentioned, our written test numbers were trending up, and we successfully executed our inaugural PFD Experience event that was open to the public and for our testing candidates immediately after the exam in the Phoenix Convention Center on January 7th. The concept was a takeoff of the well-known NFL experience. We brought every aspect of the PFD to our candidates. From our search dogs to our affinity groups to our community partners, we wanted to make it as easy as possible for anyone that wants to be a firefighter to make connections with our membership and draw them to the Phoenix Fire Department, because we know today's candidate has many choices. This event was not only well attended, but created great momentum for our recruiting and mentorship teams internally. Since this event, we have partnered up with Phoenix Police and will host a larger outdoor event on April 19th, similar to this one, inviting our schools, colleges, and other programs to pitch a career in public safety. Another important step in recruitment and hiring is understanding our multi-generational workforce and the differences between the generations and what they care about. As we analyze the makeup of our current workforce and potential firefighter applicants, we consider a range of perspectives to effectively market our profession. What's displayed on the screen represents one such perspective, focusing on the benefits and the resources. We are also looking at different incentives being offered by other agencies to attract candidates. In addition, we are addressing the health and wellness side of this profession, given health concerns of firefighters today. We know that these are real concerns for today's candidates. And lastly, as the data we collected in our survey showed, social media plays a pivotal role in our recruitment strategy, allowing us to connect with the next generation of firefighters. We recognize the importance of staying visible and relevant on digital platforms and at the top of people's feeds. In addition to using all of the listed social media platforms, we continue to pitch engaging stories such as this one.
My name is Joe Serdinsky. I'm a firefighter paramedic. I've been on with the Phoenix Fire Department for 3 years now. I was in the Navy for 10 years. I enlisted in 2006. I was Navy corpsman, deploying with the Marines my whole entire time. I saw, the events that unfolded on 9/11, and instantly I thought to myself that I wanted to serve. So when I first started the Phoenix application process, I was told to get with an affinity group. So I got with FireVet, and then from there, they really set me up for success with getting hired for the Phoenix Fire Department. They helped me out with interview prep. They helped me out with physical workouts and skills courses that ultimately set me up for to be in the right position to get hired with the Phoenix Fire Department. The camaraderie and the sense of family that I get here every day is really cool. After the military, that's what I was looking for, and that's what I found here with the Phoenix Fire Department. Thank you for all the individuals that have served this country that are past, present, and future. Thank you for your time, your effort, and God bless it.
These stories attract people to the fire department and cause them to inquire. We also just released our YouTube influencer project with Austin Alexander, pushing millions of followers on his platforms to ours as they watch him navigate the training academy himself and promote the firefighting profession. And of course, our community partnerships with ASU and GCU proved to be invaluable. That's what I have for recruitment and staffing. I'll turn this over to Chief Christ for the response time update.
Thank you, Chief Begler. Chairman Robinson, members of the subcommittee. This slide that you're looking at here is incidents reported in Phoenix City Council districts. These are 90th percentile response times. And what we're looking at is the first month of the calendar year. So January 1st, 2025 through January 31st. The table is broken up into the various response times categories, which I'll provide some information on to you now. The first one is critical EMS incidents. So this is a response time standard set by the National Fire Protection Association, or the NFPA, and the standard is 5 minutes. First arriving engine to a fire is also an NFPA standard at 5 minutes and 20 seconds. First arriving ladder company to a fire, also an NFPA standard, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. And first arriving, and ambulance response times for critical EMS incidents is a standard set by the Arizona Department of Health Services, and that is a 10-minute standard for us. You can see where we're at on the various council districts along those three categories. In addition, on the right hand of the table, we have the total incident call volume for the first month of this calendar year and the total incidents and response times citywide. So for citywide, we're at 7 minutes and 24 seconds for critical EMS. First arriving engine to a fire, 5 minutes and 54 seconds. First arriving ladder company to a fire, 10 minutes and 2 seconds. And our ambulance response times are 9 minutes and 29 seconds, with a total call volume for the month of January of 21,178 incidents. To discuss and provide a little information on our rescue conversion, you probably remember that in February of 2024, the Public Safety and Justice Subcommittee approved a plan and proposal to convert 10 existing part-time ambulances into 6 full-time ambulances. And the intent of this was to increase ambulance coverage throughout the city of Phoenix. This was later approved by the full council and facilitated the increase of 48 new sworn positions for the fire department to staff these 6 converted, the converted rescues. In addition, at the same time, there were 4 administrative support positions that were added to the fire department's emergency transportation services section to assist with increases in ambulance and to keep up with ambulance billing activities. Transitioning from the conversion, these were 2 ambulances that were part of that conversion process, so I wanted to talk about those a little bit. The first one is Rescue 45, and the second one I'm going to talk about is Rescue 49. So Rescue 45 is located at Station 45, which is at about 25th Street in Beardsley in Council District 2, and Rescue 49 is located at Station 49, which is on North Cave Creek Road at 37th Street and Dynamite. We did take a look at the response times in Rescue 45's first due area with the previous model. At that time, Rescue 45 was a part-time ambulance staffed with 2 shifts, and we wanted to see the impact of converting it to a full-time ambulance and additional coverage hours. So we pulled data from July 1st, 2024 through September 29th of 2024, and we had a response time for that area during those times at 11 minutes and 47 seconds. We then pulled the same data using the same metrics after the ambulance went in service, full-time, converted from part-time to full-time, September 30th through January 31st, and the response times in Rescue 45's response area are now 9 minutes and 44 seconds. Rescue 49, same metric, July 1st, 2024 to September 29th, 2024, response time of 17 minutes and 59 seconds. And with the conversion of Rescue 49 from a peak time unit or a part-time unit to a full-time unit, that coverage changed to 12 minutes and 12 seconds, September 30th through January 31st. The overall impact of the rescue conversion, and I will say we're about 2/3 through it, Rescue 45 and Rescue 49 were not the only ambulances converted, and we do plan to be completed with the conversion process before this fiscal year is completed. But taking a look at our ambulance response time citywide for critical EMS incidents in Council District 2 for 2024, those ambulance response times were 11 minutes and 28 seconds, and citywide our response times were 9 minutes and 38 seconds. For this first month of January, and it's just January, so January 1st through January 31st, 2025, ambulance response times reported are Council District 2, 10 minutes and 54 seconds, and citywide, 9 minutes and 29 seconds. We provide provide updates on our monthly average patient transports, and for 2024, we're averaging over 8,000 transports per month, 8,372. We only have 1 month of data for you right now, but for 2025, January, we transported 8,872 patients via ambulance. The Public Safety and Justice Committee did direct the study of the social determinants of health to the City of Phoenix and our partners to look at this. And the intent behind that was to understand why do some council districts generate more calls than others. We are actively working on this, and the Phoenix Fire Department, the City of Phoenix Office of Public Health, Maricopa County Department of Public Health, Arizona Department of Health Services, and Arizona State University are working on that specific study, and we're excited about the outcomes that we may learn from that. Social determinants of health are conditions in which people are born, grow, live, work, and age, and can affect their health outcomes. These factors include social, economic, and environmental conditions, such as economic stability, education, social and community context, healthcare access and quality, neighborhood and built environment, and social environment. These drivers can significantly influence a person's health and well-being, often more so than individual behaviors and healthcare alone. We're very interested in what we will learn about the social determinants of health and 911 activity levels. Some direction we received from the Public Safety and Justice Committee was to visually address the impact of major incidents and response time. So I have an example here to provide you with today. So what you're looking at here is a map of North Phoenix, and I apologize for the size of the map. It is hard to get Phoenix on a PowerPoint slide map, but I'll walk everybody through this. So this is North Phoenix. We had an apartment fire dispatch. It was south of Deer Valley Road, east of I-17. The fire symbol is roughly where that apartment fire occurred. And what you're looking at is the 3 stations that initially deployed to this apartment fire as part of the 3-in-1 assignment. Also, you see the different shaded regions on the map. Those are the first 2 response areas for the associated stations. So the large triangle on your left is Station 50. The other large triangle kind of at the top of the screen that's surrounded by green is Station 36. The one immediately south of the fire location was Station 41. And those shaded areas, again, are representative of the travel times for those stations to get to those areas, those 4-minute travel times. So the fire gets called in, we dispatch our 3-in-1 assignment, and here's what happens to the associated areas of coverage. You can see the red is now areas that are outside of that 4-minute travel time area because resources from Station 50, Station 36, and Station 41 have been deployed to this fire incident. The fire was a working fire, and when the first incident commander arrived on scene, they recognized that. Standard for apartment fires that are working, they do require more resources, so the incident commander called for the balance of a first alarm assignment, which effectively doubled the resource deployment. It's a very normal thing for us to do. Now we had resources responding, closest, most appropriate resources in the system came from Station 55, Station 41, and Station 33. The resulting impact on travel times and coverage is shown on the map on your right in the red areas, as you can see there. So this indicates incidents that were dispatched at the same time that this fire occurred. For the Phoenix Fire Department, we're very, very efficient with our resource utilization. On this particular fire, while a first alarm assignment was called, we were able to turn units around because we were able to obtain fire control pretty quickly and all clear pretty quickly. So we were able to turn some of the units around, which was good. But many of the units were out of service for many hours, and these 9 incidents represent incidents that occurred while units were out of service for this fire. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. And Vice Mayor, no questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Vice Mayor O'Brien. Oh, okay. All right, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Guardado, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, but thank you so much, Chief, for that presentation.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Vice Mayor?
I want to go back to recruiting and your slide about how many applicants tested and passed. And you're showing some numbers for 2025. So have we already exceeded in just the first 2 months of 2025 the number of applicants that we received the last 2 years? Or last year, I guess, is last year.
Yes, Councilman Robinson, Vice Mayor Ann O'Brien, yes, that is correct. These numbers, and if you look at 2023, it's only 4 less that applied to be a firefighter. So this is trending up.
So pun intended, you guys are quite literally on fire, the recruiting team is. So that's yes. Awesome and great job. That's a very exciting trend to see, and congratulations. You talked a little bit about looking at incorporating the EMT curriculum into the academy. How long would that extend academy for those who need that? Or would it extend academy time?
Thank you for the question. Chairman Robinson and Vice Mayor O'Brien. So that is currently in our RBO process. And what we do is we look at what other agencies are doing, because we do know that other departments are currently doing this. So we look at how long it actually takes to train someone on an EMT. We know that this right now is a semester-long course. And when you condense it down, we're looking about 4 to 6 weeks, and we're getting in the weeds to figure out how long it would extend our academy, because it would extend our academy.
Okay. I do applaud, though, that you're looking at that, if that may be helpful in attracting more folks to apply and ultimately accept a job with the fire department. We, at the policy session last week, sorry, they all start running together, so if it was more than last week, I apologize, talked about some of the resources that would be allocated to the fire department if the TPT passes. Can you address that, Chief Kreis? Or Lori, sorry, whomever.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Robinson, Vice Mayor O'Brien. So for the TPT, definitely looking at adding resources to reduce response times and activity levels. And those resource additions that we're looking at are the construction of a Station 71 and staffing a Station 71. That would be in District 2, about 56th Street in Mayo. The other resource need that we've identified is a Station 93 located at the Metro Center area to help with activity levels with the very busy companies in your district, District 1. In addition to that, we're looking at 4 peak time medical response vehicles that can help to address activity levels throughout the city in various locations, a couple ambulances, and some other supporting resources and staff to ensure that those all can be implemented and sustained.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the process that the fire department goes through when looking at resources, where resources are needed, especially as the city, I'm going to say, grows up, because quite literally, right, we have developers coming in and taking land in parts of our city that, you know, were single level or maybe 2-story buildings, but now we're having multi-level buildings going in there. So what does that look like in your planning process or your projections for future
Absolutely.
resources?
Chairman Robinson, Vice Mayor O'Brien, members of the subcommittee, I did leave off ladder 10 into our TPT plan, so I apologize for that. It's all in here, but I don't have it in front of me. But to answer your question, the fire department looks at a lot of factors as it relates to making decisions on where future resources will go. And that includes both the construction of fire stations and then also adding resources to existing locations that have high activity levels. So we're constantly monitoring the activity levels of our fire stations. We're constantly planning and watching what's happening in the development community. And all of those factors with growth in the city, the population densities, where we're having high activity levels, where we're having long response times, those all go into our decision-making process to establish priorities to seek further resources.
Thank you. And then, Lori, can you talk about, you know, we have a bond approved that has 4 fire stations. I believe 3 of them are going to be torn down and rebuilt, if I'm correct, in the bond money. But if we don't have the additional funds to put the bodies there and the equipment, what will happen with those fire stations?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair, Vice Mayor O'Brien, members of the subcommittee. So the way that the proposal is being laid out at this time is to have, or the budget projections have the operating costs for the 4 bond stations built into those projections. The reason for that is because the council approved and then the voters approved the bond initiatives, which essentially indicates the desire to move forward with those stations. Obviously, you can't move forward with those stations without staffing being available. If we did not have the ability to staff those stations. It would make it extremely difficult to move forward with those projects. We could, in fact, construct them. We would have the funding available to construct those facilities, but it makes little sense to construct facilities that we then cannot afford to staff and provide operational costs for. So there would need to be some discussions about how to move forward at that point, should we not have the operational funding to move forward with the staffing that is required for those 4 stations.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate very much the presentation this morning and the continued work to address our response times as we move forward and being one of the fastest growing areas in the United States. Thank you.
I will, excuse me, I'm going to echo my colleagues' sentiments about it's an excellent presentation. Really happy to see all the strides you're making in the recruitment arena, the response times. You know, clearly it is of concern. We're working and moving forward on things. So as we've always have, the council, the mayor and the council's offices will continue to support as the best we possibly can. So we really thank you for all that you're doing. And I'll make one real quick comment about your recruiting. I had a constituent call me yesterday, a little bit of a regular person I speak to, or speak with regularity. Her son is in the process. Her son got a call recently, so he's moving to the next phase of things, and he credited one of the affinity groups. It was the veterans group for helping him. So you guys are doing a bang-up job there. I didn't have the fire pun, so I just went with the sort of police thing with bang up. But you're doing a great job with it, and please continue, and thank you very much for the presentation. Okay, items 5 and 6 are for information only. Do my colleagues have any questions? Councilwoman Guardado, do you have any questions on items 5 or 6, the Community Assistance Program, or the...
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank you.
No questions there. Okay, the last item is a call to the public, and what I will do is go back to the original folks, and so that I don't blunder the name, ma'am, if you want to come to the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. My name is Nike. We are very concerned about our property, which the homeless people just walk around the premises. Even though we've tried, we've paid so much money to renovate the building. And since last year, we haven't been able to increase the number of clients that we have. We only have 1 client in the building. And the response we're getting from people in the public is the safety of their loved ones in the program that we present to the community. And the program that we present is a DTA program, which is for adults with disabilities. They're born with the disabilities. And what they want to do in the program is to become more independent, to understand how they can care for themselves without their loved ones supporting them as much as they were when they were born. So our appeal is that the city of Phoenix should allow us to build a fence in front of the building. It was a last resort for us. We didn't even want a fence there. We believe that the fence will make the building a little obscure, but we had no other choice. Only last week we had a man run to the premises with a knife threatening one of our workers, and we had to call the police to help us with that. So we have activities on the premises very often, maybe 3 times in a month or twice a month when we have to call the police. At other times, we have to deal with the situation ourselves. Apart from that, they come at night to sleep behind the trash receptacle, which is in front of the building, and they leave all their drug paraphernalia there, and the first thing we have to do in the morning is to clean that up, as well as their beddings and all other things that they leave behind. So our appeal is two ways: for the safety of those working for us as well as the clients that we will potentially have. And also for us not to just have a building that's just sitting there without generating any economic income for us. So we're appealing that the city of Phoenix, because they've seen the design and the work that has been put into renovating the building for the last 3 years, and we are just appealing that they'll allow us to build a fence in front of the building.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and Vice Mayor, with your kind permission, I brought...
Can you please speak into the microphone? We cannot hear you.
Mr. Chairman and the Vice Mayor and members of the council, I actually took the liberty of bringing some copies of the letters that we want you to look at. Can I bring it to you?
I will have someone get them from you.
Okay, thank you very much.
But go ahead.
So what it is based on what my wife said, I'm just going to add to it. Now, the building as it stands right now is without a protective fence and gate. And the problem with that is there are a lot of passerbys under the guise of, passing through the car park by way of shortcut. And while they are doing that, it exposes anybody in the building when they come out to see strange people. Some are homeless, some are crazy, and some are drug addicts. And we try to explain this to the city of Phoenix. The property is located on the corner of 35th and Northern. And their argument is that's a very busy street. And if we are allowed to have a fence and gate, if we are coming from the west, approaching the entrance, we would probably have to slow down, maybe get out and open the gate. And we are trying to explain to them that, no, the gate is going to be electronic. It can be operated by remote control, and therefore it's not going to be any different from what it is now, except that it will be more secure. I mean, we have a duty to protect the developmentally disabled members that we are charged to look after. And the goal is to integrate them into the community. And the only way we can do that is to provide a safe and secure place for them. So we don't understand why we cannot be allowed to make a fence and a gate, a transparent fence and gate. So it's not going to obstruct visibility, but it will keep the members secure. And it will also encourage other families who see the benefits of the Adult Day program to bring their wards to a safe and secure place. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, we do have staff from the Office of Homelessness Solutions here that can speak with these folks about some possible interventions. In the meantime, as they're looking into being able to build a fence, and we can also connect them with planning department resources.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So someone will be getting with you momentarily. Okay. Okay, that's the last item today. Do we have any, oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading what I should have already read. Are there any questions for any future agenda items from either of my colleagues? Councilwoman Guardado, do you have any concerns or any future items you'd like to see?
No, not right now. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor? Nope. None? Okay. That being the case, I have 11:35 a.m. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.